Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sandy, so welcome. In today's video, I'm going to talk about what is the best computer to buy to use with your new Cricut machine. I've seen tons of questions in the different Facebook groups and on YouTube asking what kind of computer should I get for Cricut Design Space and for my Cricut machine. So let's break that down. So there's 4 or 5 basic steps that you want to think about or follow when you're trying to evaluate what computer you should get. The first one is evaluating your needs. What do you need a computer to do and what do you need it for? Then you want to think about, do I want a laptop or do I want a desktop computer? And then you want to think about, do I want a Mac or Windows? And then think about your budget. How much money are you willing to spend? And then you want to think about the specifications. What are the specifications that you need your computer to be able to do? Step 1, evaluating your needs. So think about, are you only going to use your computer for your Cricut, or are there other software packages like Inkscape or Silhouette software, or any other type of Adobe? What other computer software are you going to be running on your computer? So think about your needs. What are you going to need the computer to do, and what do you need to use it for? So that's the first step. The next step is to think about, do you want to use a laptop or do you want to use a desktop computer? And a laptop, obviously, it's very mobile. You can pretty much take it anywhere, as long as your battery life lasts. So that's one thing to consider when you're looking at a laptop, is how long does the battery life last before you have to plug it in? Because when you have to plug it back in, then that limits the mobility of that laptop. But, for moving it around the house or to take it to, work or to a coffee shop, laptop is really a good option. With a desktop, it's, as the name says, it's not portable. You usually set it up on a table. You'll have a computer plus a monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse. And the one thing is, oftentimes the desktop computers do have a little bit more power. They're usually a little bit quicker, more powerful. Oftentimes they have more storage space on them. So you really need to think about, do I want to sit at a desk all the time and work, on my Cricut designs on my desk, or do I want to have a laptop so where I can kind of move it around wherever? With laptops, the thing to keep in mind is that the keyboard and the mouse are built in. So, sometimes if you're, working a lot, those aren't the most ergonomic options. So that's something that you might want to keep in mind when deciding on a laptop. Once you've evaluated your needs and then decided whether you're going to do a laptop or a desktop, the next step is to think about, do I want to go down the Mac route or do I want to go down the Windows or PC route? So the things to think about here, it's really personal preference. So say you at work, you use Windows computers all the time. Then you might want to get a Windows computer at home because you're already familiar with how to use it, or vice versa. If you use a Mac at work, then you might want to stay with the Mac operating system at home. So it's really personal preference there. The Mac computers tend to be a little bit more expensive than the Windows computers, so you have to keep that in mind. And again, it kind of goes back to that evaluating your needs. If you are planning on maybe designing a lot of your own cut files, things like that, in Adobe or Inkspace or Canva, whatever your platform is, Mac historically has a reputation of having better graphics design, features and options and things like that than a Windows version. But they're both solid options when using the Cricut. So it's really kind of up to you and your personal preference of whether you want to go with a Mac or with a Windows. Another step that you want to consider is your budget. You want to set how much are you able to spend, how much are you willing to spend, and then with that budget, that can help you then narrow down which computers you can, have an option to buy. And whether you're going Macintosh or a Windows platform, you can find options within your budget typically. The last step is the specifications, and you want to make sure you're buying a computer that has the specs you need to be able to use your Cricut machine effectively. If you aren't very familiar with computers, there are some basic components that it's good to familiarize yourself with. You don't have to be an expert, but at least get familiar with them. There's the hard disk drive, and so that's your storage memory. There's the RAM, which is the random access memory, and that's the kind of the what's running in the background and kind of helps enable your software, your Cricut software to run, and all the other applications on your computer. The CPU is your processor, and so that is what runs the basic functions of the computer, turning it on, having the monitor work, etc., etc. So it's good to understand those kind of core pieces of your computer, and then you can compare the specs from computer to computer as you're shopping. So Cricut has on their website a page that breaks down the system requirements for Windows computers and for Macintosh. They also do for Androids and for iPhones, iPads, things like that. We're not covering those today. I'll link the website in the description box down below so you can check those out. But it talks about, what Windows software you need. So if you want to be able to use the new offset feature on your computer, then you need to have Windows 10. You need to have at least 4 gigabytes of RAM when you're working with a Windows computer, and at least 2 gigabytes of free disk space. You should need to have a USB port or Bluetooth. I would try to get both, in my opinion. You want to make sure that your video card and your monitor have a good resolution, and it gives you the specs of the screen resolution for that. And then you want to make sure that it has a really fast Intel dual core processor, and the processor is what makes the computer run, and so you want to make sure you have a fast processor there. So looking and really understand those specs. You could even print them out or take a screenshot of them, and when you go shopping, if you want to go to Best Buy or shopping online, you can bounce those specifications on the Cricut website against the different models of computers that you're looking at within your budget. I know that shopping online for a computer can be daunting. There's so many models out there. There's Amazon, there's all these other different websites. And if you're not familiar with computers, it's my recommendation, it's worth a trip to Best Buy and just shop around and look at the computers they have there. Bring your specs with you from the Cricut website, and just talk to one of the employees there. You don't have to buy a computer. You can just go there and talk to them, and they oftentimes have really good advice. You give them, what you're wanting to use it for, whether you want Windows or Mac, what your budget is, and what the minimum requirements are for the Cricut. And they can be really helpful. And then you can take the information you glean from those workers at Best Buy, and if you want to shop online, you'll have a little bit more insight. And there are so many different Windows brands out there. There's Dell, there's HP, there's Acer, and all of them are pretty solid options. The one thing to keep in mind when you're shopping online is oftentimes people are selling refurbished computers. So you want to make sure you read all of the details in the fine print when you're shopping online. And because oftentimes those prices are a lot lower, so they might suck you in, and you might be attracted to buy one. And there's nothing wrong with buying a refurbished computer. It's just you need to be aware of that. Oftentimes the refurbished ones will work just fine. So you might want to ask about their return policy or warranty or things like that. So that's another thing to keep in mind is buying new or refurbished. Our computer is a Dell computer. I actually looked it up for this video, and our computer we bought it 8 years ago. So we've had it quite some time, and it works just fine. It has Windows 10. Is my computer, Dell computer, big old clunky thing. And another thing I wanted to point out is make sure your computer has lots of USB ports, at least 2. They'll also have a couple more in the back. So get as many USB ports as you can. That's also helpful. For both the Windows and the Mac computers, Cricut recommends 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, if your budget can allow, I would try to get as much RAM as you can. So if you can get up to if you can get up to 8 megabytes of RAM, that way your computer won't run sluggishly and your Cricut may not crash as often. Because what they're giving you on their Cricut website are the minimum requirements. So you might want to go a little bit above that if you're using other software, printers and things like that with your computer. Cricut recommends 2 gigabytes of free disk space, and that's storage space on your hard drive, and that is for the Cricut software and saving files and things like that. But disk space can fill up rather quickly, especially if you're buying files from other websites and downloading them to your computer. So you want to try to make sure you get enough disk space to handle the Cricut plus your other needs for what you're using the computer for. So that goes back to that step 1, evaluating your needs. Also, there are external drives that you can buy, and I will show you all one. I'll insert one here in the videos at some point. But an external drive is just that. It's a disk drive. It's standalone. It has a USB cable, so you can hook it up to your computer, and your computer, it looks like it's just another storage location on the computer. So you can store your fonts and your cut files on that external drive, but you can still access them when it's plugged into your computer. And the thing I really like about the external storage drive is, say you want to upgrade your computer, 5 years from now, you don't have to worry about losing all those cut files that you've downloaded or even ones that you've designed because they're on your external storage drive. So that's just another thing to consider. External disk drives, they aren't very expensive. They're fairly cheap, like under $100. Sometimes maybe even down in the $50 range. And here is the external storage drive that I mentioned. I think was around $60. I can't remember. But it has a power cord, and then it has a USB that I plug in to the computer. In summary, when you are shopping for a computer to use with your new Cricut, remember these 5 steps. First, evaluate your needs. What are you going to use the computer for? Is it just Cricut Design Space or other things? Do you want to have a laptop or a desktop? Do you want to use a Mac or a Windows-based computer? What is your budget? Set your budget on what computer you can afford, and then take a look at the specifications that you will need to be able to run Cricut Design Space on your computer. Leave a comment down below what computer you think you're going to go buy if you're buying one new, or if you already have one. Tell me, which one do you have, a Windows or a Mac, laptop or desktop, and let me know why. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all here on the next video.